Right, to politics now. The ANC is back in the driving seat in Johannesburg after DA Mayor Mpho Phalatse was voted out. Will the DA go to court today to challenge what happened in the Joburg Council on Friday? Well, Action SA at the very least will hold a press briefing to address council matters. Reporter Pule Letshwiti-Jones is following the story and joins us this morning. Pule, what an interesting day Friday was.
Yeah.
It remains to be very interesting today. We're expecting to hear from Action SA.
Yeah.
We also aren't necessarily sure if the Democratic Alliance will challenge the proceedings of Friday. What do we know?
Yeah, definitely. On Friday, the DA leader, John Steenhuisen, had an address in which he said that the whole process of actually voting the regional chairperson of Johannesburg of the ANC, Dada Morero, into the mayoral position where Mpho Phalatse, former mayor, was removed, he deemed it as unlawful, and therefore also said that they will be challenging this council resolution in court. I spoke to some of the media communicators in the morning from the DA, and they said that they will be getting instructions from also DA member Helen Zille in terms of what would be the way forward, in terms of will the court be sitting today or tomorrow. I think that's still in discussion this morning that the DA is having. However, one particular thing that Steenhuisen mentioned was that he was also disappointed in the manner in which Action SA failed to honour the multi-party coalition policies in terms of not supporting them and in terms of going behind their back not to do what is right. But that's why we have this briefing in the morning by Action SA, where its leader, Michael Bowman, is expected to address them in terms of what went wrong.
But he didn't wait for just today. He has been throughout the weekend expressing the position of Action SA, saying they did support Mpho Phalatse, but also went on to state that there was a lack of political maturity on their part, going on to accuse them of wanting both to lead the legislature and the executive here, where they held the mayor position. They also held the speaker position, something they felt they needed to perhaps relook and just have a bit of a power-sharing system, which the DA says, no, it was not part of the agreement.
Definitely, and we know that Michael Bowman has been very vocal on social media, but when you go back again, what we understand is that there was an agreement between Action SA, the DA and others in the multi-party coalition government to say we will field an IFP member as a candidate speaker. What we understand is that the DA did not agree to that. In fact, they then went on to forward their own candidate speaker, being Alex Christians, and therefore that's where talks began breaking down. We understand that the Patriotic Alliance was not happy with that, and in fact they withdrew from the talks in the whole coalition formation and went on to support the ANC and COPE and other parties such as Al Jama'ah, which gave them an advantage of actually now fielding in Dada Morero, who is now coming in. But when you read the court papers which were filed by the executive mayor of Johannesburg on Friday, she, in a founding affidavit, she argues that the whole program committee meeting, which was held and overseen by the speaker, Colleen Makubele, was unlawful because it didn't reach quorum, and therefore they couldn't have passed the whole motion process in council last week Friday, and that's why they want to deem the whole process illegal and unlawful. But
what transpired in court, because we understand that the matter was struck off, was it purely on urgency, where the judge did not enter into the merits of the case itself?
It was on that, and we also understand that the mayor had already been voted into council as well, and that's as far as we get to understand why it did not succeed in court. But most importantly, when you look at the numbers as well, Fundo, even if the court were to say that the council resolutions were unlawful, what we're getting from the opposition parties is to say they still have the support of the PA, and therefore they will file another motion of no confidence and they can still win because they have the majority in council. So it's a tug of war happening in the Johannesburg Council for power.
But then I suppose it clarifies one aspect, that last week on Friday, when we saw the speaker insisting on continuing, it means there was something more at play, because I could hardly hear what the council member was saying when she stood up to actually put the motion forward. But she insisted that we're going to have this motion put forward first before we go on a break for an hour. So it seems there what was happening between the Democratic Alliance and the Speaker was that even the Democratic Alliance themselves perhaps wanted that break for so long to allow the court proceedings to take place, because for an ordinary citizen, I was a bit confused that why are we not going to a break? And it clicked just minutes later that, oh, by the way, there's an urgent interdict. But if the process goes ahead, then the horse is bolted.
Definitely, and you need to understand something. This may fail on a matter of principality and technicality. For the fact that the program committee meeting did not reach quorum or did not curate, that in itself is very wrong. So therefore, you can't go to council with that program committee meeting not have curated in the absence of other parties as well?
Yeah.
And this is in the founding affidavit of the former Johannesburg Mayor Mpho Phalatse, which, by the way, she stands a chance to win if she goes to court on a normal court roll in a normal process. This also will give an idea how this whole process was rushed on Friday and how the speaker, like you say, insisted that this whole process go forward. And I think that's why the DA believe that they have a case here. But unfortunately, when you look at the numbers as well, the numbers are against them, because the Patriotic Alliance, Kenny Kunene, has made it quite clear to say the DA is arrogant and they're not willing to listen. And therefore, that's why they will stay with the ANC and they will continue to support the ANC. So for them in Johannesburg, their future seems to be in limbo. And this is storytelling, because we're starting to see different dynamics unfolding in Ekurhuleni and in the city of Tshwane as well. By the way,
yes.
Nelson Mandela Bay as well. So the DA is in trouble to protect these key metros, and they have to do all they can to ensure that they go back to the drawing board and see how they can resolve these issues.
So Joburg has a new mayor. Nevertheless, he's got 6 months, according to the coalition. They're saying they're giving him 6 months to prove himself, otherwise they're booting him out.
Definitely. This is the 5th mayor in 18 months. You'd remember that the former mayor of the ANC, Jeff Makuba, died from COVID-19. Unfortunately, you had Jolidi Matonga as well, who died in a car accident. Then you also had Mr. Mpho Phalatse as well, who died in a car accident. We saw the mayor Mpho Phalatse coming in, and now we have Dada Morero, who says that he wants to look into the issues of energy crisis in the city of Johannesburg. They believe that they've had this, ANC says they've had these policies since 2016. They can still work right now to resolve the energy crisis, but also saying they are inheriting an almost bankrupt metro. Quite importantly, he says they want to overturn the financial fiscus in the sitting, something which the DA disagrees about. The DA believes that they've done almost they can within the past 11 months in terms of pushing for service delivery. But, you know, residents still continue to bear the brunt of this political infighting.
They most certainly do. Pule, thank you very much for that update. That's reporter Pule Letshwiti-Jones, who continues to monitor issues around this Johannesburg coalition, as well as Ekurhuleni and Tshwane. More news.